There's a certain kind of fear that doesn't come from something you see, but from something you feel. That sense that something is wrong, even when everything looks normal. The kind of fear that makes you check the locks twice. The kind that makes your skin crawl for no reason. Most of us have felt that at least once, standing alone in a dark hallway, hearing a sound that doesn't quite belong, and telling ourselves it's nothing, because the alternative is terrifying. In 1922, a family living in an isolated farm in rural Germany started feeling exactly that way. They heard footsteps in the attic, items went missing, doors unlocked themselves, and one morning they found footprints in the snow, leading from the forest to their house, but none leading back. Days later, the entire family would be found murdered, and the evidence suggested that the killer had stayed in the house after they were dead. Hinterkaifeck wasn't a town. It wasn't even a village. It was a single farmstead in Bavaria, Germany, surrounded by woods and fields. The nearest neighbors were far enough away that screams wouldn't carry, especially at night. The farm was owned by Andreas Gruber. He lived with his wife, their adult daughter, Veronica, her two young children, and a newly hired maid. 5 people, all isolated, all depending on one another. The family was known locally, but not fondly. Andreas was strict, controlling, paranoid. Rumors followed the household. People avoided the farm whenever possible. Months before the murders, Andreas noticed something strange. Footsteps coming from the attic late at night. He searched the house, and nothing. Tools began disappearing. A set of house keys vanished. Doors were found unlocked in the morning. Then came the footprints. Fresh tracks in the snow, leading from the forest straight to the farmhouse. There were no footprints leaving. Andreas reported this. Authorities dismissed him. The previous maid had already quit months earlier. She claimed that the farm was haunted. She said she felt watched. No one took her seriously. A new maid arrived on March 31st, 1922. Her name was Maria Baumgartner. It was her very first day on the job. That night, she would be murdered. At some point during the night, someone lured a member of the family into the barn. We don't know how. A noise, a call for help, something familiar. When the first person stepped inside, they were killed. Then another, then another. Each victim was struck with a mattock, a heavy farming tool, blunt force trauma, crushed skulls. One by one, they fell into the darkness. Afterward, the killer went into the house. He murdered the maid in her bed. Then, he killed the youngest child, a 2-year-old, who reportedly survived for hours before dying. Here's where the case becomes truly disturbing. Over the next several days, smoke continued rising from the farmhouse chimney. The animals were fed, food was cooked. Someone was still living there, with the bodies. 4 days later, neighbors grew concerned. When they entered the barn, they found the bodies stacked, covered with hay. Inside the house, everything seemed normal. Meals had been prepared. Nothing was stolen. Money was left behind. The murder weapon was found hidden in the attic. Hundreds of suspects were questioned. Neighbors, former lovers, soldiers returning from World War I, even family members were considered, but no evidence was pointed clearly to anyone. Critical evidence was destroyed when crowds trampled the crime scene, and eventually, the investigation went cold. Years later, the farm was demolished. Locals believed it was cursed. Today, there's nothing left, just empty land and a feeling that people describe as wrong. Someone walked out into the forest that night. They listened, they waited, they lived inside the home without being seen. Then, they murdered an entire family and stayed. They cooked, they slept, they fed the animals, and when they were finished, they disappeared. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved. No arrest, no confession, no answers. The only question that still lingers: if the family was right all along, who was already inside the house?